concerns, and working through complex issues to develop policies that are both practical and fair. Your willingness to listen and act upon quickly demonstrates strong leadership and a genuine commitment to serving our community. By adopting this ordinance, it helps protect residents' quality of life while providing clear expectations and consistent standards for everyone. The time and effort you have invested in this update will benefit our community for years to come. Thank you for your service, your thoughtful deliberation, and your continued dedication to making our city a great place to live, work, and visit. Your efforts are greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Stephanie. Penny?
My name is Penny DiTello, and I live in Stayton. I want to thank the mayor and the council members for working on the motorcycle noise problem. I'm here about the same thing Larry and Stephanie were here for. I heard that a letter is going to be sent out to our Mr. Noise neighbor, and I just wanted to ask you that you please reconsider sending the letter, because he will retaliate against us. And not only will it make for a miserable month, but I have a dog sitter staying at my house, and she will be working there, sitting my dogs, but also doing her day job. And I really don't want to subject her to the misery that I have to live in. And so if sending him a letter is mandatory, I ask that you choose your words carefully as not to escalate this situation. And just know his noise has been driving us from our homes, and our rights are being violated. And, Paul listed out a whole list of laws that have been broken at the last meeting, and maybe those could be followed. But hopefully this change in the ordinance will take care of our problem. Because don't forget, our neighborhood is being held hostage by Mr. Noise. That goes on for hours. I mean, I've got a log if anyone questions how long it goes on. But Larry told you an example of last weekend. So I'm here to thank you for the time you've spent on this, and hopefully we'll get a resolution. So, all right, that's all.
Okay, thanks, Penny. And there is no requirement for a letter, so. Noreen, I saw her sitting over there.
My name is Noreen Chamberlain, and I live in Stayton a long time. I'm happy to be here and appreciate the city council, the mayor, and all of the pool patrons that came. I'm here for the pool, and I just wanted to say we appreciate your support to all of you to keep our pool open, and thank you for believing in us and giving us the chance to try to keep our community livable. Special thanks to the mayor, very supportive. We look forward to a plan for a long-term solution. We care, and we want to be involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I brought peanut butter cookies over there for the mayor.
I didn't know we were having an impromptu bake sale, but thank you. All right, I'm not sure what this is, but it's a blue sheet. So, Mark, come on up.
I'll put it on green next time. Are we live on the video? Because some people are telling me they're not able to get in. Barely. Okay. Hi, Mark Cronquist, Stayton, Oregon. Live on Water Street. Public comments. Thank you, Council and Mr. Mayor and staff. Regarding the Stayton Memorial Pool funding, I'm glad that things are moving ahead. As I understand it, the shortfall on goal are roughly $375,000. I'm looking at numbers in the council packet for tonight and the numbers in Our Town magazine, Civics 101, page 6. The article quotes from Howard and says pool fund grows to $138,000. That's awesome. The packet numbers are more optimistic. Regarding these packet numbers, are sponsors formalized, or hey, I'll just give X? Because it talks about $30,000 in sponsorships. There are 11 $1,000 club members signed up. Is that a one-time club, or is that $1,000 a year? Based on the $375,000 goal, with the Our Town figure of $138,000 raised, we're still $237,000 short. Based on the $375,000 goal and the numbers presented in the council packet of $300,028 and $27, we're still short $46,973. And not to be a wet blanket, but many of you know I was involved in a campaign recently, and roughly a third to a half of "we'll get you a check" didn't come through. The second thing is, how does this help us going forward? Are we going to have long-term sustainable funding for the pool and parks? Are we just kicking the can down the road? The people who are very involved with the pool say that the Band-Aids, and thank you for the Band-Aids, can keep the door open until maybe November 1st. But after that, what then? And what about parks? Thank you all.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Since council, I don't think has a copy of this testimony. They do? Oh. So I don't necessarily have to read this, but because we're talking about the pool, I'm going to. This is from Diana. It says, I am unsure as to where the decision-making process is at the time with regard to the State Memorial Pool being able to remain open to the area. As you know, it is the only pool in our area, given that none of the schools have a pool. Several weeks ago, I contacted Ferris Lumber to ask about the possibility of pool support. I was referred to the Oregon Community Foundation, where a Ferris family member has created a fund committed to the area served by the pool, so I thought it's worth inquiring. Given that the Whipper Fund only supports children, I was advised to pull out the percentage of usage by children from the total usage. I met with Howard and sent him my questions. He supplied me with the information last Thursday, which I summarized in the attachment below to show pool usage in area and out of area. While there is a consideration of raising membership costs for out of area folks, I think that given the amount of out of area usage, this warrants careful consideration. I live out of the area and I'm in favor of raising prices to help, but just want to be realistic so we do not lose patrons for the lack of payment ability. And that's from Diane. So that concludes the public comment for tonight. And we're going to move on to consent agenda. And that's on page 5, right? So it's the consent agenda from June 15th, City Council regular session minutes, and then resolution number 26-018, which is accepting the abstract of election results from the May 19th, 2026 primary election. What would council like to do?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Sims.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Seconded, Councilor Petty.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as submitted. Any further discussion? Okay, Alyssa, can you poll the council?
Sure. Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Counselor Ort,
Yes.
Mayor Quigley,
Yes.
Counselor Patty,
Yes.
Counselor Sims.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. I have 2 proclamations tonight, and one of them I'm going to apologize in advance for missing before July 4th, but that's because we didn't have a meeting prior to that time that I caught early enough. So here's a proclamation by the City of Stayton honoring the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Whereas on July 4th, 1776, The Declaration of Independence established the founding principles of liberty, equality, and self-governance, affirming the unalienable rights of liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America, known as the semi-coincidental, it's hard to say, providing an opportunity to reflect upon our nation's history, honor the sacrifices of those who have come before us, and celebrate the enduring ideals upon which our country was built. And whereas throughout its history, the United States has grown and evolved through the contributions of people from all backgrounds and walks of life, whose efforts have strengthened our communities and advanced the promise of democracy. And whereas the city of Stayton is enriched by its diverse and multicultural community, whose residents contribute unique traditions, experiences, and perspectives that strengthen the fabric of our city and reflect the continuing story of America. And whereas civic engagement, volunteerism, and public service are essential to preserving democratic values and building strong communities, and residents of Stayton demonstrate those ideals through their commitment to one another and to the future of our city. And whereas the city of Stayton recognizes this historic milestone as an opportunity to celebrate our nation's heritage, acknowledge the resilience and contributions of its residents, and inspire future generations to participate actively in civic life. Now, therefore, I, Brian Quigley, Mayor of the City of Stayton, Oregon, on behalf of the Stayton City Council, do hereby proclaim the year 2026 as America's 250th commemorative year, and encourage all residents to join in observances, celebrations, service projects, and moments of reflection that honors our nation's history, celebrate our presence, and inspire our future. That's one. And the next one is in regards to National Night Out. So, 43rd Annual National Night Out. Whereas the National Association of Town Watch sponsors a national community building campaign on Tuesday, August 4th, 2026, entitled National Night Out. And whereas the National Night Out campaign provides an opportunity for neighbors in Stayton, Oregon, to join over 38 million neighbors across 17,000 communities from all 50 states, U.S. territories, and military bases worldwide. And whereas National Night Out is an annual community building campaign that promotes strong police-community partnerships and neighborhood camaraderie to make our neighborhoods safer, more caring places to live and work. And whereas neighbors in Stayton, Oregon, assist the Stayton Police Department through joint community building efforts and support National Night Out 2026. And whereas it is essential that all neighbors of Stayton, Oregon come together with police and work together to build a safer, more caring community. And now, therefore, I, Brian Quigley, do hereby call upon the citizens of Stayton to join the Stayton Police Department and the National Association of Town Watch in supporting the 43rd Annual National Night Out on Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. Further, let it be resolved that I, Mayor Brian Quigley, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, August 4th, 2026 in the city of Stayton as the 43rd National Night Out. Thank you. All right. Two long ones, but we got it done. All right. Is there any presentations tonight? No. Any public hearing? All right. Moves on to general business, and this is what most people are waiting for, the parks and pool funding options following the levy failure. Julia?
Yes, thank you. In your packet is a memo where I am providing an update on both the pool and the park, and we'll start with the pool. Essentially, when the levy did not pass, we had a shortfall from the revenue that we would have received from the tax levy. Since that time, we've received a combination of donations, pledges, additional revenue, assumed additional revenue from some fee increases that we're hoping council adopts later on this evening, as well as assumed increases from swim team contributions, which I have had initial conversations with the swim team coaches, and they are understanding of that need. We also anticipate additional revenue from the insurance program, as we have been mentioning all along. The revenue assumed for the insurance programs was much lower than we're actually seeing, in part because of some billing issues and an audit. So we're seeing much more revenue than we had budgeted for the insurance program, and then we anticipate renegotiating those contracts as well. And then sponsorships, Mr. Cronquist had asked about this. This is an assumed sponsorship, potentially a low end. I'm envisioning opening it up to, say, like 4 slide room sponsors for $5,000 each, and swim lane sponsors for $1,000 each, for a total of 10. That's a minimum. We might see if we can do some more, but I believe that's attainable. So we anticipate, between what we have received as of the writing of this memo, which our pledges are just a little bit more than that since then, a total of $292,675 in revenue that we did not assume in the budget. And then we also identified some cost savings. We had a larger fund balance than we had budgeted. We had some salary savings when the former pool manager left, as well as some assumed savings through the next year because of where they are at on the steps, as well as some materials and service savings, for a total savings of about $74,000. So this leaves the shortfall was $375,601. So that leaves a gap of $8,962. So with the contingency of $34,262, at this point in time, we do not have a shortfall with the pool. And so I do not need to ask council for direction on alternate spending. And unless there is an opposition or a concern, I would like to begin this week, even tomorrow potentially, offering swim lessons, seeking the pledges to come in, basically reaching out to the people that pledged, asking them to fulfill their pledges so we can move forward and plan on the pool being open for the fiscal year, which will end June 30th, 2026. 2027, sorry. We will continue to monitor revenues very, very closely, and if we are looking or concerned that revenues are not coming in, pledges are not coming in as we anticipated, we will need to have additional conversations, but that is the plan right now for the pool. Any questions or comments on that?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Sims, go ahead.
Julie, I've got several questions. So the sponsorship potential of 30,000, there's no commitments yet. Is that what you said?
That's correct. We're planning on going out and seeking sponsors for that.
And the other question I have, the salary savings, you have a 27,000 at 30,000. Where is that coming from?
So that is with there's some salary savings with just people if we didn't have as many people as we anticipated. But the big one is with the pool manager. She was higher steps. She'd been here a long time. She had insurance. She had retirement, and so it's the savings associated with that position leaving. And we have a new person in there, but they are not at the same step and the same level as that person was.
So that's $57,000 right there.
That is what James has told me. Yes.
Okay. All right. And the last thing I want to say is, we're going to be fighting this. We got to come up with a long-term plan, because this is not going to be successful.
Absolutely.
Recipe for keeping the pool open. So we have got to have some deep discussions on
absolutely.
Plan.
And at the end of my memo, I list next steps, and that is absolutely the next step, is that we need to get the pledges fulfilled. We need to get swim lessons going so we can get the grant. Part of this is that we anticipated some grant funding as well. All of that needs to happen. People need to know that the pool's going to be open, so they want to renew their memberships. And very, very shortly, we need to be convening conversations about what those next steps are and what the long-term funding model is for the pool. Because, this isn't anything any of us want to do on an annual basis.
Thanks, Julie.
And Julie, I have some questions.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of assumptions in
Yes.
these opportunities. I guess for me, I'd like to start with, what's the methodology to grant the scholarships to offset the cost for families that can't afford it?
So that's the $10,000. Salem Health has indicated that they would give that.
Understand. What I'm asking is, how is it first come, first serve? How are you determining who gets that offset?
We have not outlined that as of yet.
And that's also based on the same number of lessons taking place, correct?
Correct.
Hold on.
Oh.
We don't have it. Hold on a second. So I want to stay on the footnotes for a minute here. There's a footnote that says if we are unable to negotiate a sufficient amount, this is insurance, we will look at terminating insurance program. However, this requires 120 days notice in accordance with the contracts. That's an assumption again, correct? As far as the insurance funding on the, that's what
We
the
have had
footnote.
preliminary conversations, and we are pretty confident that we will be able to negotiate those. And actually, Melanie just gave me some numbers today, where we're comfortable that even without the increases, we're looking at about $35,000 in insurance revenues. With the increases, it will be significantly more than that. We're looking at least not quite doubling, but what they're currently paying. So yes, there are assumptions. I guess I would say there's assumptions anytime you prepare a budget, and then you go to monitoring and making sure that the budget assumptions are realistic. We put a lot of thought into these. We didn't just make them up. There's a lot of detail behind the scenes that goes into that. But yes, there are assumptions.
Okay. The last council meeting, it's interesting that you all have this in here, but there's a reference to decrease the admin transfer by $28,000, and that is due. This is for the parks, I think, correct?
Yeah, in the parks.
All right, so I'll come back to that when we get there. Yeah, I'll hold off for a second.
Okay.
Anybody else? Council Ort, is your thing working?
I think so.
There you go.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank the community for the support with the pledges, donations, and coming out to the event that we had. It was really inspiring to see people show up and essentially put their money where their mouth is. So thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it. Julia, I'm curious to know what the methodology is as well for, like, if Salem Health has, or I don't know the right word I'm looking for, but if they have like their own stipulations on how the money like gets divvied out and whatnot for scholarships, and how we're going to do that this is for specifically for swim lessons.
Yeah, the application indicated that we would provide scholarships up to $10,000 if I guess if requested, or how we ultimately decide what that process is. I spoke with the person who's in charge of that, and she basically said that I need to let her know after this meeting whether or not we want to take them up on that, and that we would pretty much have the money. There'd be some reporting and some photos that we would need to do, so we'll need to let them know how we spent the money, but there's no stipulations as far as I understand.
Okay. And then just to clarifying for the insurance programs, the 30,000 additional revenues, this is if we, is this because we've fixed like accounting errors, or because we're raising?
It's accommodation of, and I wouldn't say accounting errors, processing, where we are billing more accurately, we're ensuring we're getting paid more consistently, and that the people that are doing their check-ins are actually eligible to do the program, so we're getting reimbursed for them, and we're doing it according to processes and procedures, as well as some assumed increases.
Okay. That was going to be my question. If we are looking at, we are looking at negotiating.
Yeah, we already have been having those conversations of increasing those rates.
And then
And I guess I'll say, based on the information that I got before this meeting, I honestly believe that $30,000 is probably a low number, so that we might be bringing in more revenue, but I don't want to overassume, and so that's that's what we had. That's based on the information I had when I prepared the memo.
Okay. And then just one more question. I know that you were talking about potential sponsorships. Are we like in talks with anyone? Or we're waiting to see if the pool is going to stay open? Where are we at with that?
Yeah, I didn't initiate any conversations because until I know that the pool's going to stay open, I didn't have those conversations. We didn't have those conversations.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Sims.
I had one other question about the insurance. So we're renegotiating the amount, and I saw a letter recently from, I think it was Mrs. Chamberlain on, is that a viable option to have? So if the insurance pays, say, $250, can we do a surcharge and raise for the full amount?
My understanding is no, and it's more complicated than that, and we'll certainly explore that. But my understanding is no. But there are 3 different insurance programs that we have, and there might be some opportunities with the AARP one to do a little bit more. But with the other insurance programs, I don't believe so, and I don't believe that we can. Say the insurance programs are only for Stayton residents versus everybody. And that's something ultimately we can have another conversation about. If we just say we just don't want to do insurance programs, we'll potentially make a lot more money. We'll also potentially lose patrons. But that's a separate conversation.
Right. Is that something we can investigate, or would we talk to Ross about that? I don't
It's
know
not
the
a Ross
legalities of it.
question. That's with the insurance companies, really. And I don't know, Melanie was the one that was doing a lot of the conversations with the insurance companies. It's not a legal question. It's a contract with the insurance company question. But we can certainly explore that. I know questions have been raised of how do some programs like court something, they're able to charge a surcharge. And I think if there's certain programs where there's like a base level and then there's an extra level. And so I think that if you are part of the insurance program, but you want to do that extra, you might be able to charge for the extra level. But I don't believe our swimming pool currently is. Another thing we could have a conversation about in the future is maybe we operate slightly differently where we charge some things for programs. And Stayton residents are free, and then that would be able to potentially give us the ability to charge that difference. But we need to explore that a little bit more.
Yeah, I would like to have that investigated because I don't feel $250 from insurance providers.
Yeah, and that
is not success in the long term.
Yeah, and that is not what we are assuming going forward.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Hayes.
Okay, so the $50,000, that's only for emergency or backup?
Yeah, and when I've met with several of you guys last week, and literally every time I met with somebody, the numbers got better, and it was so initially I was thinking that I was going to need to ask for a subsidy of up to that much. It's beginning to look more positive that we probably won't need that, but I put that in there because I kind of had that in there. So I'm not at this point. I'm not even asking for council's nod on that because I'm feeling pretty comfortable with the numbers that we have for the pool.
And how? I know pledges mean you do not have the money in hand.
Yep.
And the thing, but it's whoever's pledged, your the general confidence in the pledges.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
I guess I've never done a pledge program, so I don't have the same experience that Mr. Cronquist has. But these pledges came in for this purpose. We have their contact information, we have their information, and I would assume that they're going to come in as they promised. If they don't, we might have to have some conversations, or we might get additional grants, we might get additional revenues. So at this point, I don't have information to to say we need a different amount of money.
Thank you.
Councilor Patty.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I just want to say thank you to the community for putting this together. Like others, I think I can speak for everyone. I've been really surprised with what everybody's put together for donations and pledges. So just thank you to all who were involved with that. I also want to say a special thank you to staff for putting this together. It could not have been easy, and it must have been daunting dealing with the different dynamics and staff dynamics at the pool as we go through this transitional time. The other thing I just want to kind of make clear is as we move forward, we've sort of made comments towards this, but I really hope that we're all in agreement there needs to be a long-term sustainable goal of transferring this over to some sort of different financial mechanism to fund this. Because I truly don't believe that this pool is fully funded at what it needs for the funding level. I also think that the deferred maintenance is a huge liability to the city. Overall, I'm uncomfortable pursuing this, but I don't have a better idea, and I think this is the best idea. So here we are. And I also want to say I don't have a lot of questions tonight because Julia's done a lot of work meeting with us to kind of answer a lot of the things that I was really concerned about already. I'm sorry you all couldn't have heard some of the dialogue that went back and forth, but just suffice to say some of the things that a lot of the public is already highlighting here have been concerns of ours, I assume, and mine. And a lot of it's been addressed already. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming tonight and also addressing it and having engagement here tonight. I really appreciate that.
Okay, thanks. Julia, I might be missing it, but I don't see any reference to increased drop-in fees or increased fees from, is that in the next discussion?
So those were already increased just per CPI when you updated the fee schedule. So we're not proposing to increase those more. And when they were increased per CPI, they also were increased to 40%. So they had historically been 35%, and they're in the 40%. You can't. It's not perfectly 40%. I did was checking that this afternoon. It's so that there's even numbers, and so sometimes it's 40, sometimes it's a little bit more than 40. But we're not proposing to increase those. It's really the swim lessons and the swim fee renegotiation, as well as the insurance program.
Okay, so what you're saying is that that's already built into the pool budget if there is one, the rate
Yes,
increase.
it's built into the assumptions.
I think we should explore that because we had everybody at that meeting, all the multiple meetings that I attended, they were absolutely in favor of raising the rates.
And they're already at 40% of what the city's rates are.
Yeah. I guess for me again, some of these guesstimates essentially, they're swags, I think.
I wouldn't say they're swags. I mean, they're educated estimates. They're based on a lot of detail and data that goes into them. They're not.
Okay, so let me give you an example. How do you come up with $30,000 for slide sponsor, lane sponsor, spit and active sponsors?
Based on what I think that we could get sponsorships for, based on other things that we've gotten sponsorships for and what the community has gotten sponsorships for, and how many patrons utilize the pool, how many patrons from around the area utilize the pool. I think there's a very strong case for somebody investing $5,000 to get 20,000 sites in a year.
Okay. And who in the city has the capacity to oversee that? Are you going to do that, or the pool manager? Who's going to do that?
It would be a collaboration of staff, me, other admin staff, as well as potentially pool staff, but probably me and my staff.
Okay. Should we, before council takes action on this, should we hear the next one on parks?
So just to be clear, there is an action that needs to be taken. I mean, unless you guys have a strong objection.
Well, you're asking for direction, right?
I'm asking if there's major concerns or opposition, but we can go through the parks. There's not an ask that I'm asking you to vote on. For the Parks Fund, That's a little bit trickier because we don't have thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in pledges. That has a shortfall of $420,027. We identified how we can potentially fill that gap with a significant amount of cuts to the park expenditures that are outlined in the packet. That's $328,027, covering a variety of areas, but we didn't feel like we could cut all of the funds out of that because we needed to have funds to continue operating the parks, albeit less than desired. The general fund subsidy, we identified we could cut $64,000 from the general fund through strategic cuts in police administration and planning, as well as some unbudgeted revenues through cost savings because of the streetlight project. I think I mentioned when we did the streetlight conversion project, we budgeted the expenditure, but we didn't budget the savings. So we're seeing additional or less costs every year or every month because we're not spending that amount on the streetlights. And then also decreasing the public works admin transfer by $28,000, and that would be through cost savings through a variety of positions as well as to support services. So that's basically the proposal there. And that would require council action, not tonight necessarily. Not tonight, I don't have anything for you to take action on, but ultimately there would need to be a budget amendment to authorize additional general fund subsidy from the general fund to the parks budget. So that will require council action. And the next steps with that is similar to the pool, but a separate conversation is really digging in and looking, very closely at the park costs, whether or not there's other revenue sources, working with the Parks Board on sponsorship opportunities such as are there disc golf sponsors, are there facilities sponsors in the parks, are there fundraising opportunities, things like that. So we'll have to have conversations going forward about park budget, and what ultimately the long-term sustainable funding options there are for parks as well, because this is just a one-time cut given the shortfall.
Okay. The last meeting I asked specifically about that city engineer vacant position, and I think at the time Mr. Brand's position was he advocated to not take that money. What changed?
Conversations, and it's not all from that position. About 18,000 of that amount of the city engineer's salary is attributable to parks, and so that's why we kind of looked at what portions that are attributed to parks within the public works admin budget could potentially come out.
Okay. I just want to say, I think this is a really challenging topic. The vast majority of the community benefits more from the parks than they do from the pool, in my opinion.
Which is why council made it very clear that you did not support any general fund subsidy any additional general fund subsidy going towards the pool, and that's what's in front of you is no general fund subsidy and other than what's already been budgeted going to the pool. But we did feel like there needed to be some additional general fund subsidy for the parks to at least keep it operable, given the shortfall that we have because of the levy failing.
Okay. What would council like to do here? I guess the last thing for me is I'm not in favor of prolonging this for 12 more months, so we're going to face the same situation we did with the levy just a couple months ago. And I researched, and there's a lot of ideas that have come up. And I went and researched the Park and Recreation District, and I found what to do to get it going, but I can't commit to being the person that leads this. I think I can give this to Jack maybe, and Jack can take a stab at it, or something he's back on the back. But it's quite a process. It's spelled out in statute. It's right here, and it's going to take us a couple of years to get it off the ground, if we can do it.
Yeah, one of the things I want to do, again, pretty immediately, is start having these conversations, but with, with the pool, but also the parks, potentially having a summit, a speaker type thing where we're bringing people in from different funding areas. So bringing the CEO from the YMCA in, how do they do it? What are their solutions? Bringing somebody in from an aquatic district that has formed within the past 10, 15 years. How did they do it? How's it working? Maybe bringing in other cities that have found some creative way of doing something to maybe throw more ideas on the table, with the goal of, in my mind, we really need to have a very clear idea of how we're moving forward within 6 months, because then we need to be building our budget for the next cycle. So we need to know what we're doing. Certainly not, we can't wait a year. It's going to have to be in the next, now to 6 months for us to really come up with a solution that can actually be, like the mayor said, carried. Like, just having the idea doesn't get us there. We actually have to have something that can be done.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Sims.
So I do have a couple questions. So the maintenance budget. So we're having seasonal employees. Do we have 2 seasonal employees or 1 seasonal employee?
We have 1 seasonal employee.
1 seasonal.
Yeah,
And we're not contracting out the mowing this year, are we?
that is correct.
Okay, so we're doing everything ourselves since we have the seasonal employees.
Correct.
Okay, that's some cost savings, I would imagine there. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make something very clear, especially when it came to the levy that failed twice. Many residents, and Julia here had also mentioned it to me and such like that, and also talking with many is, again, not everybody wanting the extra taxes, but another thing that, comes up is how many people within the city who, if they said yes, are paying all the taxes towards the pool, when you have so many people outside of Stayton who don't pay the taxes towards the pool. And how do you get that? This is where I don't see a levy ever working again, because I believe they're all going to just say no again for the same reason. So the idea that there's got to be more outside funding some way, somehow, from the people who do live outside of state really needs to come in. And we need to see it as something being very solid.
Julie, I got another question.
Yes.
Reduce maintenance budget, $70,000. This assumed Wilderness Park opened.
Yes.
I struggle with this because we didn't spend any money for Wilderness Park. I don't understand how we budget money that we don't have.
Because when we built the budget, we assumed that the levy was going to pass, and so we assumed expenditures based on that. So and I think Councilor Ort brought this up at the work session or whenever the prior. That's an easy one, because it was money we didn't get and money we didn't spend, but it's still part of that shortfall that we have. So I could have taken all of those things out of the shortfall, but it's still part of that shortfall that we didn't. That was, but we budgeted that need, we didn't get the money. We don't have, we don't have the need, as well as the $6,000 for land and rent is related in the same way.
I guess I have a different opinion on that. It's a budget adjustment. It's not necessarily. If I decided to buy a Powerball ticket and I'm going to have all these visions of grandeur and go spend the money on something, I don't get the money. I don't get the money, so I don't get this stuff. Is that really cut?
It's we built a budget based on a certain amount of money. We built revenues or expenditures based on a certain amount of money. I've got a shortfall. That's part of the
Right.
shortfall. If that wasn't ever counted in the revenue and it wasn't counted in the expenditure, we're at the same spot.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't need to be a cut we don't need to cut more than that because we have that because we assumed that revenue was needed.
And we assume that was in the first levy, right? The
Yes.
Wilderness Park was in the first levy.
Yes,
But the voters voted the second time that was not in the second levy. Correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
But it's still
But
a
it,
budget shortfall.
it was from the budget that we had
Right.
Okay.
made, right? Okay.
All right, council.
So do we need to make a
So
motion
I
on
don't
this?
need any motion. I guess it is likely, I guess, and the nice thing about this too is we don't have I don't have to do this for the next meeting, but we will be bringing, if there is no objection, at some point in the near future, a budget amendment to council to increase the general fund subsidy by $64,000 for the parks budget. And we will proceed with the pool, getting swim lessons going, getting pledges called in, and doing all that we can to increase this even more. It'd be wonderful if we, this is a fund, so if there's extra revenue, it rolls over into the next year, and that would be great if we're not having to have as deep a conversation as we're preparing our budgets. That would be wonderful. And we will begin having conversations for both the parks and the pool about next steps.
All right. I have a question. So, Julie, if none of this or a percentage of this doesn't materialize in a month, what's
will-
the timeline if it doesn't materialize?
Then I will be having conversations with council about what we do next. But I do not believe that is going to happen. I mean, I hope that the people that provided pledges and donations will come through, and if they don't, then we'll have to have tough conversations.
Mr. Mayor, how are we
Councilor Graham.
coasting now?
What's that?
How are we coasting now?
Well, we have money. We have general fund. We have revenues that come in. So it's not like the bank is dry. So I don't know, James, if you want to add anything to that, but
It's just everything was supposed to end at the end of last month, and here we are now coasting.
yeah, but that was half of the budget, not all of the budget.
We don't need all the money at the same time.
Exactly.
Correct?
Exactly. James, can you chime in on that?
Yeah, we're still getting the property tax income from the levy that it does end. It did end in June 30. We'll continue to get property tax income actually for late payers, but yeah, that'll dwindle. That's the only revenue piece that has ended. The fees are increasing, so those fees will be higher than they were in the past, more than the original budget. We have pledges and donations that were not in the budget, so there are additional revenues as well.
And I think the pledges, the donations. So we've gotten $17,000 in donations, a little bit more than 17,000. So even that's money in hand. And then the pledges. This is as of I think today, 151,685 in pledges.
Yeah. But I think your question is fair. If the money isn't coming in as we plan, we may have a couple months short or a month short from our goal of keeping it open for a year. We'll know more as the year goes on, and we'll continue to call on those pledges and may get more. But there's a lot of things at play, yeah.
Not yet. Hold on a second. You'll have an opportunity in just a minute. I guess to Councilor Patty's point, what if there's a capital issue from a maintenance standpoint? Then what happens? How do we fund that?
So there is the endowment that is
Yeah, the
only for,
endowment has hardly anything. I'm talking about a huge issue, pump or heater or whatever.
well, how would we deal with it if we had I mean, we'll have to address that issue if it comes up. We only have whatever budget we have,
Oh,
and that
okay.
wouldn't have changed if we had the tax levy or not. Depending on what the issue is, it might be paid for by insurance, depending on what is going on. So,
Okay. All right. This is an opportunity for public comment on this topic. So come on up.
Phyllis Bond, and I am an outside resident. I'm in the Maclay area. And about the pledges, it's an interesting comment because I'm hearing it from both sides. The people who are making the pledges, we're willing to give the money if you keep the pool open. And then you say, well, we need the pledges in order to keep the pool open. The other thing about a lot of the pledges, and in my case, I have required minimum distributions from my retirement, and it has to go to a nonprofit, which we worked out to give to you guys. But if you close the pool and you say, we'll refund your pledges, then that becomes income for me, and it creates a problem for me. So I don't want to give a pledge. I don't want to pay my pledge until you say you will open the pool. It's kind of like we're both talking about the same thing. You say, I'll open the pool, but you guys have to pay your pledges. And we're saying, well, I'll pay my pledges if you open the pool. So I really feel a lot of these pledges are true pledges. These are not haphazard decisions on our part. But if you keep the pool open, we definitely will pay our pledges. I think you can put that in the bank, at least in
Okay.
all the people I've been talking to.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else? Jack? Hold on, Sam. Jack, come on up.
Hi, Council. My name is Jack Burnett. I am the president of the Friends of the Pool, also the president of the swim team. I want to thank all of you. This has been a lot, and I know it's a lot of decision making and things like that. And I want to thank Julia. I know she has worked really hard to come up with a plan. I believe we can get behind this. I want to talk a little bit about next steps. We have a group of people that are willing to work on what you had in your hand there. I think if a legitimate plan for a levy for a short term might even be something to discuss. And the voters can look at if they also see that we're working on a longer term plan that takes it outside of the voters and doesn't put it just on the city people, but on the whole community that uses the pool. This is not an easy path. It's something we need to get going on, though, if we're going to have a pool. So I think there is a math here. It's going to take a little work. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Larry?
My name is Larry Chamberlain. I've lived in Stayton inside the city limits for 40 years. First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and the staff especially who have shouldered a lot of the effort. I think the response of the community caused a real sea change in attitude of everybody, and it became believable, and now it's a reality that this summer we're going to have a pool. We all know that success or failure is around the corner depending upon how we all continue to push forward. But in reference to what Jack said, I'd just like to make the comment that, and it might seem premature to be talking about the next step, but all of this is for naught if we don't pull off the next step. And I would just like to suggest to staff that there be some community involvement in figuring out what the next steps are. As Jack alluded, we may need an interim levy just so we can pull off the long-term aquatic, whatever, I guess, zone or community involvement. That may take a couple of years. We're going to really need to think, shift from short-term into long-term on this. And I think the advantage, and I saw it work with the public schools here when the high school was really having problems, the more people you involve in planning what direction you're going to go, the more of those people who live inside the city and talk to voters will talk to other voters about it. It's like you're having a whole group of ambassadors, so it's more unwieldy to deal with in the planning stage, but it's really effective in a small town. So thank you for your efforts. I think one of the major selling points to getting if there is an interim levy, to getting that passed is for the voters to know that we have begun at least to effectively charge people outside the taxing district a little bit more. And I'm not saying it should be outrageous, but it needs to be notable enough that people talk about it. And I think that's going to be an advantage if there is a levy next November, say, to get us through another year and a half or a year, whatever, so that we can create this pool district out of the users of the pool. So anyway, congratulations. I think you guys are doing great. I think the supporters have done amazing, and I share Phyllis's opinion that those pledges are pretty solid. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. Come on up, Casey.
I'm really confused because I went to all the meetings talking about what we can do to save the pool before the levy. I didn't hear any of these options. I didn't hear any of these financial things. I never heard any of that. What was put out to the public for the levy was, we have no money. And that's what voted down. Council needs to think about what the next step is. If you do another levy there, everybody's going to use their brain and say, well, you figured out how to keep it open for a year. Why can't you continue that? It's a bad look. And I am pro pool, but it's a bad look.
Thanks. Anybody else before we move on to council discussion? Okay. I guess Julie doesn't need anything unless or just acceptance of what she proposed, I guess. So go ahead, Councilor.
Oh, I guess we're done with questions, aren't we?
Go ahead.
Okay, for the swim teams, this gets a little bit into the weeds, but I was talking to you guys about like charging a maintenance fee, like a yearly maintenance fee to the swim teams that can help with our maintenance issues. Is that something that's being considered with our negotiations?
Not specifically. We were really looking at what the annual or the monthly cost was going to be, and it was going to be, for some of them, a pretty significant increase. But can you elaborate a little bit more on what you're thinking? I mean, which kind of that fee goes into all of the budget, right? So it's not specifically for maintenance, but can you speak a little bit more about what you're...
So similar to, my daughter does gymnastics at Athletic Edge, or I have a gym membership, and I pay my monthly, but then every year we have a maintenance fee, a membership fee, it's a yearly fee on top of what you pay for classes, what you pay to
I think we need to think a little bit more, and I think we need to talk more about that conceptually. Maybe that's something that is swim teams, swim lesson. I mean, I think we need to think about that as a little bit more holistically for all of the programs that we offer. But I think that's it's not being talked about specifically with the swim teams, but it could be on the table for future.
Okay, anybody else?
Okay.
So I have a consideration that I'd like to have council hear me out on for a long-term solution. James, what is the total general fund budget for the biennium?
I think you might have that number quicker than I do. I sent it to you earlier today.
Yeah, I know, but I want the audience to know what it is. It's fine if you don't have it.
Sorry, I don't have it memorized.
What is the total police department budget for the biennium?
Again, I could look it up. The police department is about 50% of the general fund.
Correct. And that was, I believe, for the biennium, $6 million.
Approximately.
I want to make sure I'm clear here. This is in no shape or form or criticism of the police department. Not in the least bit. This is a evaluation of our financial situation in our community. This is about quality of life in our community. This is about the pressure that's coming to our community. This is about the future residents coming to Stayton. So I want to be crystal clear about that. We have to look at the general fund in a different manner. We have to look at where we could best utilize that money. I was always on the council for the last time being on the council, and I'd always ask, what portion of the general fund goes to the PD? And I was always amazed by it. Again, I want to be crystal clear about this. I'm not targeting the police, but I want to have the option to look and see if there's a better way to do things for the structure of our community. And to me, that would be, we get lots of requests from outside to see if our PD could provide service to other communities surrounding us. I want to have us at least entertain the idea to have the county come tell us whether they could give us enhanced service or not. And that way, maybe they come to us and say, hey, here's what we would do. Here's what it would cost us to do that, provide services to you. And if that's considerably less than what our budget is for the PD, why wouldn't we look at it? Why wouldn't we take those cost savings and apply it somewhere else we could use it? So I'm just floating that out there. Again, I want to be crystal clear that I'm not being an adversary to the police department, because it's not me at all. I think we can do a collective approach to this. So I'm floating that for council. I'm asking council to at least consider that. There's no harm in asking the sheriff to come over here and see if he can even do it. And that way we could use that other general fund dollars for something else, i.e. the pool, the parks, the streets. And that's what I have to say.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'd be all in favor of looking at the police department budget and seeing where there's any waste or, cost savings, but losing local control of our police department is not something I will ever be in favor of. Thank you.
It's fine. I appreciate that. I will tell you that the struggles that we have currently from a structure standpoint, our recruitment is a revolving door, and the chief will tell you that she spends most of her time recruiting officers only to have those officers turn around and go to Marion County or Lynn County. And then again, it's a structure thing. Why do they do that? There's various reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is because they don't see opportunity within the department to move to specialties, canine, drug detection, detectives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We've had that discussion. Chief and I sat with Julia and I asked, how do we change this? She asked me, how do we change this? And it's all making sense to me. With the added pressures coming, we're not going to be able to support the level of growth in this community. And I'll leave it at that. So what would council like to do with the rest of this? That was my idea for the future. I threw something out there. I want to have a long-term solution to this. And that's one way we can do there. At least review it. And if council says no, council says no. I respect that. But why would we not consider the options?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
we have our budget committee is meeting on August 10th, and I think that would be a great opportunity for us to. Obviously, this isn't us, making our budget, but this is one of the reasons that I'm going to bring this up again. That we need to put into our ordinance that we have to have a specific date every year that we're meeting for our budget committee for situations exactly like this. Because what we have stated here is that this is a Band-Aid, and we need to be looking at our long-term solutions. And if the meeting is short and sweet and not needed, that's one thing, but having it every year is essential and very important, again, for this very reason. And I think that would be a great opportunity to hear from members of the public as well, to see what their thoughts are on different options, and giving the gravity of the situation we're in, if they have suggestions on, directions we should be taking now that we know where we stand with the pool and the park and moving forward.
And I'll also add, funding is hard. All cities are having challenges. All cities have issues with the general fund, and this is a conversation that needs to happen. Regularly. So I think having the conversation as we continue these conversations with the parks and pool funding, with the budget, with council goal setting, those are all things that we need to have the conversations about the philosophy of what's funded by the general fund, what's funded by other sources, and there's many cities that have different funding structures. I would say I'm not aware of any city that doesn't have some other funding structure beyond the general fund to fund those things that historically were funded by the general fund. Maybe it's a park fee, maybe it's a park levy, a public safety fee, a public safety levy. There's all sorts of things, but I'm not aware of cities that don't have some sort of funding shortfall in some way or another.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, as long as we're kind of talking about the police budget for now, I wanted to also highlight another option short term that we've used in the past, and I believe you were on council, was when we were having the issues funding the PERS liability. We had to freeze one of the positions for a couple of years. So I'm not advocating doing that. I'm just saying that is another option as far as short term solutions, and that should probably be on the table if that's something that you're going to be raising.
Okay. All right. So does council want to do anything else other than let what was presented to us take effect? Is that what you're asking?
Is there any opposition to what I have presented to you?
Does council have any other?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Sims, go ahead.
Although it's not a perfect plan, it's not good for the long term. I mean, I think it's the best solution for right now. I think we can keep things open until we can figure some better choices out. So I'm definitely for moving ahead.
Okay. Looks like you have consensus, Julia. Is that all you were looking for?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
we're done with that. Let's move on to the next item, which is second reading of ordinance number 2604. I do want to say thank you all for coming. Thank you for the energy and the time you put into it. It was a community effort, so really appreciate it.
And just for council's information as well as the public, in anticipation of this, we do have a press release prepared that will be going out tomorrow to say that. So you'll be seeing this, that the pool will remain open through at least June of 2027.
All right. That goes to the second reading of ordinance number 26-004. Annexation zone change for property at 11641 Shap Road. Jennifer?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Jennifer Siciliano, the Community and Economic Development Director here in Stayton, for the record. This is as you may recall, the public hearing was closed for May 18th, and the council subsequently reconsidered their action at the June 15 meeting. Following that reconsideration, the council approved the annexation with high-density residential. It wasn't unanimous, and because of that, it requires a second reading tonight. So no new testimony or evidence may be considered unless the record is reopened, and staff recommends approval of the ordinance as written. Thank you.
Okay. I only have one question. Is it appropriate for me to vote on this since I wasn't a voting member last time?
We do have Ross here virtually, and perhaps he can chime in on that.
Good evening, Mayor. Absolutely, you can vote. You were in attendance for all of the meetings and were here for all the testimony, so you are very qualified to vote.
Okay.
And this can be your first vote.
There you go. Okay, thank you, Ross. All right. Council, what would you like to do here?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Sims.
I move to approve ordinance 26-004, approving the application of Kevin and Paige Butler for annexation. Land use file number 10-08/25 is presented by staff.
Okay, I'll second that actually. Which means there's been a motion and a second to approve of the application and enact ordinance number 26-004 as presented. Any further discussion? Alyssa, can you poll the council, please?
Sure. Counselor Sims,
Yes.
Counselor Patty,
Yes.
Mayor Quigley,
Yes.
Counselor Ort,
No.
Counselor Hayes.
No.
Motion passes 3-2.
Okay. Ordinance number 26-006, amending chapter 8.04 of the State and Municipal Code to regulate off-road vehicle noise. Chief?
Yeah, I'll have
like both of
Chief
you.
Johns come up. It's listed as both of us, so I wasn't sure if
Okay.
you were planning on doing a presentation or I'll start basically. As you know, at the last council meeting, you received a lot of testimony, as well as even this evening, you received testimony from residents concerned about off-road vehicle noise. Staff went back and forth a little bit on where the best placement in the code would be. After consulting with legal counsel, it was decided that the noise ordinance was the best place. And I will point out, and sorry, Chief, I'm stealing all your thunder. Just because Mr. Larimer had a question about it, the noise ordinance is really written so that it's all of the above or any one of these things. If they're not met, then it's a violation. So he was concerned about the 3 hours between the hours of 7 and 10. That wouldn't apply in his instance because the property is within 100 feet of any other property line. So having that ability within the city, if there is a place within the city that meets the other criteria, they could potentially operate for a limited number of hours. So I just wanted to highlight that. Chief, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was just going to acknowledge Mr. Larimer's concern, much like you did. It hinges on the word or. So all the clauses are kind of independent of each other. So it would fit your scenario and what you're trying to accomplish. But we do have some bigger parcels in town, for example, a 32-acre parcel. So would it be reasonable to restrict someone in that scenario? And so that's why we have the 3-hour clause and some other clauses in there to better address all of that. So, and I did want to thank Stephanie Hartman, who brought up the fact that, yes, this does take a lot of time. We had our supervisory staff looking at it, and as Julia mentioned, kind of looking at which ordinance it would best be addressed, and then dealing with City Hall staff as well as our attorneys, because this is an ordinance that we've had for years and years and years, and when we change it, I assume we'll have it for a number of years. We know that city administrators Police administrators previous to us looked at it about 12 years ago and didn't make any changes because sometimes you get some unintended consequences. So we were trying to look at it from a lot of different avenues. How's, the guy dragging the baseball field to prep it for the game, first responders responding to emergency situations. We've got the fire department. And so we think that we came up with a good conclusion to amend it that fits what we're looking for, and looked at some different things so we don't have unintended consequences, and that this would be held to the test of time.
Council, any questions? Does that clarification work for everybody?
So I just had a question. The 100 feet. So that the size of the property we're talking about. So they ride from even within that 3 hours. They're going to be within 100 feet of another property line.
Yeah, so it says within 100 feet of any property line. Right, so it's for this scenario that we're talking about, as opposed to the 32-acre property, right, that we're restricting that distance.
Does anybody remember the size of this property? Is it an acre and a half? Is that what I remember?
I can say that I've done the measurements, and I do not believe that it would be possible to be anywhere on the property that's 100 feet from a property line and do much riding at all.
Okay, that's just my concern
Yeah.
because, 3 hours you can terrorize people with all the noise. So, okay, thanks.
Hold on. There's one. We'll have pub comment. Any other questions? Go ahead, David.
Yeah, it's not specific to the code. I'm just more concerned about public engagement with this. Has anyone reached out to this fellow to let him know that we're looking at the code and changing it literally because of some of these issues and that they've presented to his neighbors? Maybe I'm thinking from a weird vantage point here, but if this was me, I'd probably rethink my actions if this is what was in hand for me. You know what I mean? I'm just curious.
He was issued a citation for his behavior, and he didn't.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about us changing the code tonight. That's what I'm talking about.
It's on the agenda. That's my take. Are you asking, do we contact him directly, say we have a public hearing and all that? Yeah.
Did we contact
I
him?
did not.
Okay. Anything else before I let public comment?
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Is the 100 feet, because I know that Marion County has something similar.
Correct.
Is that in line with what they have?
I believe it is exactly what they have. I think that we modeled pretty closely.
We've been
with-
looking at
yeah.
this
Okay.
an awful lot, in addition to some other code amendments we're doing, but I believe it's in line with that, and then it fits our current situation.
Okay. So that ordinance that they have doesn't apply to within city limits, within any other city limits?
No, so our jurisdiction is City of Stayton Police Department, so they would not come into the city and enforce their code. They would have to cite it into the circuit court, and so their jurisdiction is county, that it's not covered by a municipal city. So for example, county doesn't go into Almsville and enforce county rules. Almsville is in charge of that. So county covers jurisdiction that's not covered by another municipality, if that makes sense.
Yes. Thank you.
Councilor Hayes, looks like
Wait,
sorry.
I'll wait till you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I got something. First and foremost, I did a lot of research on this. Big time. I went Google Maps. I wanted to find the property. That is incredibly unique where that is, but it's still dead in the middle of a residential area. The noise ordinance basically is so nobody's mowing their lawn at 2 a.m. There's sleep time, things like that. But where I was getting really upset about this is how many times in my younger days playing in a rock band and we needed the garage, and how many times the cops got called on us. we claim the ordinance and they go, no, this is excessive and it's disturbing the peace. And it's not applying to them because it is in your ordinance amplified noise. So my question to you is if I'm in my garage and I take my 120 watt PV amp and crank that sucker up, do I throw the ordinance at you? Because you let these people over there off Ida get away with it because they didn't get cited properly. That's my big issue
it's
with
not
this.
that they didn't get cited properly. They got cited, and the ordinance doesn't fit the scenario that they were cited under according to the judge's review. And some of the language is what is causing it to not be in violation. So we have to look at the code word for word, and initial responses to the resident, it was explained by the officers that it didn't fit code. It was revisited after the number of complaints that we had, and there was a belief that it might fit. It was pushed forward. The judge reviewed it, and it didn't fit in the judge's ruling. So there's a problem with the code to address this issue. We've been asked by council to address that and amend the code, and that's what we're doing.
And amplified noise is different than what this is. So if you have an amplifier and you're amplifying the sound, that is against the noise ordinance.
Of course it is, because it's in it.
Right, but this is not amplified.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my problem is this is very, I can't believe we have to get this technical and petty about it. Seriously.
Okay.
But okay, let's do it.
We're doing what we're directed by council.
You're good. Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Council Hort.
So this addresses a specific issue. And I completely understand that we asked you guys to address this specific issue. Are there concerns, like going back and looking at this and the ability to be able to cite for, I mean, really nuisance noise, but a lot of this is specific things, but what happens when one person talked about like retaliation from neighbors? Like, is there any recourse that anyone has in regards to noise if there's believed like retaliation because of conflicts? And not even this specifically, but
I'm not understanding your question. So if someone is, right now, it's not a violation, what he's doing. If the code is passed and it's a violation, then we can enforce the code. So I'm not understanding your question.
And if they do it to retaliate, it's still a violation of the code. And if they are doing it consistently, then I guess it would ramp up in terms of enforcement. So.
Okay, I have an example. So K on page 48 says, the making of noise by crying, calling, or shouting, or by means of whistle, rattle, bell, gong, clapping, horn, hammer, drum, musical instrument, and or other device for the purpose of advertising goods, wares, merchandise, and attracting attention or inviting patronage of a person to a business. But if you're doing all those things, but you're not trying to get someone to your business in like an excessive way, is that not something?
So when we're called to a situation, we're going to address that situation and how it applies to our code. So it's very difficult to get into what ifs of if this does that. So if we get called and it fits the code and it's a violation, then we can address it.
Okay.
And it's possible that it could be something that's not a noise violation if there's there's other things in the code besides noise that if and they'll look at every situation based on its unique circumstances and determine whether or not there's a violation. So if there's disturbing the peace, harassment,
okay,
threatening. There's all sorts of things that could apply depending on the circumstances.
Okay. We done with the staff issue? I'm going to have public comment if we do. Stephanie, you got something to say?
So our neighbor is very retaliatory, as I'm sure you guys know, and our several calls to the dispatch. He told me he did not care. He yelled at me from across the fence and said, I do not care. I do not care what you think. I don't care who you call. I am doing this for my daughter. I put her on my motorcycle and I ride her around because it makes her happy. So I have a video of him riding his daughter around on his property. She has no helmet, whatever. And the more we call and the more that the police department visited, the more often it became. He was out there more. He would rev it up more. Now he's up to 3. He's got 2 buddies that come there all the time. So I do appreciate all the work that you guys have done. I just know this, even if you guys respond and write him a citation, he does not care. So what I'm asking is, what do we do at that point?
Right. So I'm sure he doesn't care because he knows he's not violating the code and he can't be financially or court consequenced. It may change when he can be, because I believe after he was issued the initial citation, he stopped until
he went to court.
Right. So we just kind of played out. We're going to address it through the code as requested. And if he violates the code, we will address that. And I mean, you're saying retaliatory, and I understand the nuisance. I understand the disruption to your life, but he's playing within the rules right now, right?
Right.
And once those rules are changed, he's going to have to decide if he's playing within those rules or he's challenging those rules, and if he wants to deal with the consequence.
And we were also told by an officer, the officer had to see it, or he had to witness it or hear it to be able to write a citation.
So within certain violations, that's true.
That's not going to work.
And that's fine. And there's ways that we can address this and we can work through it. But first we have to have the code to deal with that.
Okay.
So there are other options. And as we get calls to those, there have been calls where the officer has witnessed it. And if we had a code to support it, we could deal with it. So it's hard to what if the whole situation, right? If he's writing as frequently as you say, we get the call, we go respond, and we take care of it. So, and it may be an education piece. Him knowing that he's now violating and he doesn't want to get a ticket and he doesn't want to appear before the judge, that may end it right there.
So
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, just a point of order. This is public comment, and so I'm going to make sure that you have the discretion that generally public comment is directed to council, and then staff speaks if council directs, rather than having the conversation.
I got it.
So anyways, I just want to thank you for all your time that you've put in.
Okay, thank you. All right. Looks like Sergeant Butler.
Dean Butler, Stayton Police Department. Councilor Ort, to answer your question about where the ordinance came, so Marion County has an ordinance for ATVs that is enforceable within urban development zones. So like our urban development, City of Stayton's property, that's where that's enforceable. It's not enforceable county-wide, just in urban development areas.
Okay. Council discussion. Further? You have a comment?
Yeah.
Okay, one real quick.
I'd like council to ask the police, if this ordinance is passed, is it still up to their discretion to enforce it? Because I had a situation at my neighborhood where it was up to the police's discretion to cite or not multiple times in one night after curfew, after hours, and nothing happened. So to me, it's up to officer's discretion.
Okay.
Is that going to happen again?
Okay. Thanks. I think it's always up to the officer's discretion, at least from my training. But here you go, Larry. Got one more question or a statement? Go ahead.
This is getting too technical. My hearing is not good, but are you saying that our neighbor can run his motorcycle 3 hours a day? Okay, what?
Go ahead.
Clarify that for me.
So to clarify, in the code, it is, there are 5 things that are a violation of the noise ordinance as it relates to off-road vehicles. One of them is if you exceed 3 hours. Another one is if you are more than 100, or if you are less than 100 feet from the property. So it doesn't have to be any one of those 5 could be a violation of the noise ordinance as we are proposing to amend it.
How do you plan on policing this? Are you going to take his word? I've only been out here 2 hours, and he's actually been out there 4 hours.
I guess you're not. I guess let me clarify it for you, Larry. Since your property line is within 100 feet of his property line, he's in violation of the ordinance.
Even with the 3, if he's out there, he's in violation.
There's 4 different criteria to the statute. Am I saying it right, Chief?
Correct.
Yep.
Right. If it's amended.
Yep. So this is covering all the options essentially.
So if he's out there tomorrow running his motorcycle.
Not tomorrow.
I mean.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing. We'd, of course, like to have it enacted soon. But to me, it just seems like we've wasted a lot of people's time with this type of thing. If you're going to let him get away with it, he's going to get away with it.
So we need to change the code.
You
for
need
it
to take
be a
that
violation.
line out with the 3. Just take that one.
So the 3 hours doesn't
The
apply
3
to him.
hours, just
The
take
3
it out.
hours doesn't apply to him because he's less than 100 feet from
Right.
a property line. So
Yeah.
he will violate if he runs his motorcycle within 100 feet of the property line, regardless of how long he's running it for. So
Okay.
the 3 hours is for somebody else, somewhere else across town that's 500 feet from the property line, and he has the ability to run it. In this particular instance, your concern will be a violation because he's less than 100 feet from the property line. Yes.
Larry, I think what they're trying to do, they try to encompass all of the options within the code. And since your line of property is right on his line, that's less than 100 feet, it takes care of that.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I just was thinking there's going to be a loophole here, and
Yep.
we're going to be right back where we were. So we're counting on you. Just raise your hands if you'd like this in your backyard.
Yeah.
Nobody. Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks, Larry. All right, Council. I'm going to move on. So what do you all want to do here? Council discussion anymore?
Basically, everybody whose backyard is facing that property, this needs to go through and get that 100 feet taken care of. So that way, when they just start it up and go, they're in violation. It's done.
Okay.
They're in, like I said, it's a unique property, but it's still a residential area. It's not like they have a big field behind their house.
Okay. Let's move on with this. Let's move on with the decision here.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Sims.
I move to adopt ordinance number 26-006, amending chapter 8.04 of the Stayton Municipal Code to regulate noise caused by the use of off-road vehicles.
Councilor Second. Okay. We have a motion and a second. And let me get to it, wherever it is here.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilor Orr. Oh, there's a motion and a second. Do we want to talk about under discussion?
Yes. Okay. One, I feel rushed with this. No, and I'm just talking about talking about it. Because people agree with it, you're rushing it, whereas we have been able to have conversations. To Councilor Patty's point, Can I just say, like, I don't necessarily disagree with this, but if it's right, it's right. But we have been upset previously because people that issues that we're talking about have not been invited to the room when it's specifically talking to them. And again, not this isn't like I agree with this. I really do, but also we didn't invite the people to the room. I would be upset too if this was my neighbor. I would absolutely be upset. I completely understand that. But we have gotten upset when there have been conversations and the people have come to us and said, we didn't know about this. You were speaking directly about our organization, about our issue, about our property, and we didn't tell them. And
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any further
for that
discussion?
reason, I'm going to be a no, not because I don't agree with this, but because I don't.
Okay.
I
Gotcha.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor
I'd
Patty.
like to discuss further. Thank you. Yeah, to her point, I think that we should have engaged with this. I'm hearing what I'm hearing. I don't know the fellow. I don't even know his name, quite frankly, except Mr. Noise. But just on a community engagement standpoint, I want everyone in this town treated fairly and equally, and I'd want this person contacted. I think that this code will serve our purpose, and I think that we need to get it moving to help these people. While he wasn't contacted, I'm disappointed. I'm still going to be a yes on this. I think these people need the help. I'm just concerned going forward that we're not reaching out to people. And like Councilor Ort said, having everyone with a seat at the table.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Ort.
I know we're in. Can I ask a clarifying question?
Go ahead.
If this doesn't pass unanimously, we have to bring it back.
That is correct.
Okay.
All right.
For the sake of needing this to pass, obviously, because this is an issue, I'm going to vote yes. But the next time something's brought forward that we haven't, and it's specifically speaking about an issue which you had a problem with, Mr. Mayor, with previously, I will be voting no on it if we are not directly engaging with the people that this is affecting.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 26019 as presented. Any further discussion? Alyssa, will you pull the council?
Yes. Counselor Hayes?
Yes.
Counselor Ort?
Yes.
Mayor Quigley?
Yes.
Counselor Patty?
Yes.
Counselor Sims?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to ordinance number 26-007, amending the state municipal code title 1016 related to towing, storage, and impoundment of vehicles.
Mr. Mayor, the fee schedule is next.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why. Oh, okay. Backtrack. Ordinance number, no, scratch that. Resolution number 26-019, amending the 26-27 fee schedule.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, for the record, James Brand, City's Finance Director. This resolution is amending the fee schedule again. We just updated the fee schedule, as you probably remember recently. Those fees went into effect July 1st. What we're doing here is amending 3 sets of fees. One is the SDCs. We're adding an inflationary factor. This is customary. We do every year, but we have to wait for that index to be published. So we have that. It's going to be an increase of 2.8% for all of 5 of the city's SDCs. Secondly, we are going forward with the swim lesson increase, as Julia's proposal indicated. This resolution does exactly what was in her plan. It basically doubles the rate from the previous year's swim lesson rates. And thirdly, Public Works Department pointed out that our fee schedule is missing the grading permit fees. These fees were enacted in a resolution in 2023, and they just never got into the template for the fee schedule, so they were inadvertently dropped, so we're adding those back. The details are in your packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay. Was there an opportunity for public comment? Okay, council discussion.
Miss Mary.
Council Ort.
Someone I was talking to today, specifically regarding pool fees, they live outside of the city limits, and now that we don't have a levy that the city is, or patrons that live in the city are paying for, they wanted to know if the rates were going to change in either direction, because now we don't have a subsidy from the I'm not saying I agree with this. Either way, I'm just bringing it up because it was brought to my attention that now that we don't have a levy, there is no, financial support from taxpayers inside the city.
So, Councilor Ort, actually, James brought that up a while ago. I would argue that there still is a subsidy because we're providing a subsidy from the general fund, so the taxpayers are still contributing through their general fund taxes.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. Can you repeat that, Councilor Ort? Can you repeat what that feedback was, please?
Okay. So the feedback was that this person lives outside city limits, and they pay the non-residential fee, which is higher, obviously, than the resident fee. But the resident fee is because we have the levy. So while I see your point about the general fund dollars, the levy is the reason that we have a resident and a non-resident.
Okay.
Just an observation.
I'm not going to comment on that. All right. Council, anything else? There was no public comment, right? Okay. We are on, what would council like to do on this? 26-019.
Mr. Mayor.
Council Ort.
I just want to know if raising these, if we're in line with other,
for the swim lesson fees?
Yeah, the swim lesson fees.
We're on the high end. I would say we're in line, but on the high end. I think that with having the ability to provide some scholarship opportunities, that helps, but we're not low at all. We were.
Okay.
Okay, council decision.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patty.
Ready for a motion?
Oh, I need a motion. Yes, please.
All right. Motion to approve resolution number 26-019 is presented.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second to approve resolution 26-019, amending the 26-27 fee schedule. Alyssa, can you poll the council?
Sure. Counselor Sims?
Yes.
Counselor Patty?
Yes.
Mayor Quigley?
Yes.
Counselor Ort?
Yes.
Counselor Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. It leads us to ordinance number 26-007, amending state and municipal code related to towing, storage, and impoundment of vehicles. Chief?
I think Sergeant Butler is going to be doing this, I
Butler.
believe.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you is ordinance number 26-007, amending State Municipal Code Title 16 related to towing and storage of vehicles. Whether or not to adopt the ordinance to amend State Municipal Code 10.16. In the past, the city has charged an administrative fee, and we're allowed to charge an administrative fee under ORS 809.720. We stopped charging the fee after some state and federal court cases where courts ruled that it violated the Fourth Amendment, unlawful search and seizure of property. The courts ruled that a vehicle is property. While we can still impound for certain reasons, we needed to have a methodology for the administrative fee. The administrative fee allows us to collect some of the cost officers have in impounding vehicles, conducting the inventory, standing by for the tow, entering the vehicle into leads as an impounded vehicle, and the removal. The fiscal impact, let me back up. So there, on the tow fee, there's currently a $125 administrative fee that's already in our fee structure. Reviewing this, staff believes that that is an appropriate fee to charge for the time officers spend with the vehicle. The fiscal impact of the city is unknown, but there is the ability to cover officer costs while they're conducting those certain operations under statute.
Okay.
And I was just going to weigh in that we're revisiting this also because we've done a policy rewrite on the standards to tow and impound a vehicle. We understand the consequence of towing someone's vehicle is very significant. We want to be reasonable and responsible in that, but also measure it against the consequence and significant impact on our community of suspended and uninsured impaired drivers on our roadway in our community and the safety to our public.
Okay. Council, any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead. Council.
maybe I missed it. Did you say what the fee was? I didn't hear that. Is there a flat fee for this, or what is?
Yeah, it's $125.
$125. Okay, I didn't hear it. Okay, thanks.
I missed the opportunity for public comment. Anybody have public comment? Okay. I have a question. On 1016.460, I don't know how often y'all do this, but it talks about the vehicle shall be appraised by a person possessing a valid appraiser certificate. Does that cost us money?
So that related to the code is if we had our own storage facility.
Yeah.
Where we contract with a third party tow, it's a process that they go through.
Okay. The only reason why I was asking to make sure we get that covered in whatever fee you're charging. So, okay. Council Hort?
So there's currently the impound tow charge of $125, but we're not charging that.
We have not been, correct.
What, I know you said that there was a reason that we stopped, but why have we started? Why do you want, what has changed that we can do that now?
So the ORS and the courts have realized that there is a fee, that there is time cost for this. So it's not just any vehicle. So the officer, we have to be able to say that it constitutes a hazard. So it's not like it's parked in a parking lot. This is something that's blocking a lane of travel that we have to get moved. It's a hazard to other vehicles. So the courts say, you know what, there's time that you have involved into this that's not your normal operation. And so that allows us to redo it, or recharge, go back to charging with policy update and code update.
And this is like the tow truck charges a fee.
Correct.
Okay.
In addition.
So when we tow a vehicle, right, our officer is on scene for amount of time waiting for the tow truck. We then have paperwork that we have to do to process the tow. We have to work with dispatch to enter it as a towed vehicle. Yeah. Then we require for someone to get a release that they come to the PD, show that they are actually licensed, that they do have insurance. And so all that does take staff time, and we've broke it down to justify that $125, which is required under ORS.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I still think that's pretty cheap, so. All right. What do council want to do? More discussion, or you want to take action?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Ort.
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 26-007 as presented.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve ordinance number 26-007, amending state and municipal code title 1016, related to towing, storage, and impoundment of vehicles. Any further discussion? Alyssa, one more time, please.
Sure. Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Counselor Ort,
Yes. Yes.
Mayor Quigley,
Yes.
Counselor Patty,
Yes.
Counselor Sims.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, that brings us to resolution number 26-020, authority to undertake projects and designate a loan signer. Mr. Brand.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Again, Finance Director James Brand. This is Resolution 26020. This has to do with two wastewater projects in the city. We are at the stage where we're ready to sign loans, and previously we had designated the city manager to be the signer. That resolution proved unsuccessful because we didn't have the exact dollar amounts, so we're here back not only to recommend Julia to be the signer in an appropriate way because we do have dollar amounts, but also to ask for your approval to sign the loan documents. We have two loans being offered to us by the DEQ right now. Let me just back up and talk about the projects for a second. Yeah, there's a map in your packet and we'll put it up on the screen. But there's two separate projects here. The first is displacing the Mill Creek Pump Station, which is the project in orange on the upper left corner of the map. It's about halfway up Gardner Street, so the north half of Gardner plus a little jog west on Shaft Road. This would be putting in new sewer pipe there. And the second project is the one in yellow at the bottom. It's on Ida Street. It snakes up on High Street and gets all the way to 3rd. So that, again, is a wastewater pipe project. These projects are critical to improve the infrastructure of the city to allow growth. They're both in our master plans, and they're both budgeted, not fully, but partially in the current budget. It's basically a timing issue. We wouldn't budget the entire thing yet because it's a long project. But the two loans we have now are the design for both of those projects. So there's $800,000 for the design of the wastewater collection system capacity improvement. That's the one in yellow. And the second loan is for $500,000 for the design of the Gardner Street pump station. So after this, there will be two additional loans for the project costs. These projects are both planned to begin probably in the spring of next year, 2027. And we're hoping to have the bids out later this calendar year. In all, we'll replace almost 5,000 linear feet of wastewater pipe. This will be a project that will improve our I&I, having retired pipe that was installed in 1962, and quite a bit of it. The terms of the loan are 30-year loans at 3.14% interest. The attractive feature of this loan is that half of the principal is eligible for forgiveness, as in we would not have to pay back half of these costs. The loan documents will be for these full amounts, $800,000 and $500,000. But if you look through the many pages of loans, you will see in the payback schedule you're only paying back half that amount. So this is a program the DEQ is offering now. It may not be there in the future, but we're wanting to take advantage of it as best as we can. The city believes this funding opportunity, including this principal forgiveness and low interest rate loans, is a wise use of city funds. I did check our our debt policy, and it does tick all the boxes of our debt policy. I don't like taking on debt, but the attractiveness of the basically half-off deal, it's a slam dunk decision from me. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Doesn't look like it. Council discussion. So James, I have a question. Who's read the loan agreement?
Sorry?
Who's read the loan agreement? Who's read it?
Oh, I did.
Is
As
there
a
anything?
finance director, I feel responsible for reading thoroughly. I read it. I highlighted some of it and had our public works department oversee it because it has to do with limitations on the loan and red tape and paperwork, and they were comfortable with everything in there as well.
Is there anything in here that gives you concern?
Just that section with the public works department, and they said it's all standard language. They're used to dealing with it, and so no. I wanted to see some stipulations in there, such as we can prepay the debt if we want to. There's no penalties for that. I'm interested in doing that if we can. Right now, we're earning 4% on our investments, and this loan is at 3.14%. So, I mean, it ticks that box. We're hoping to earn more in the future when we're getting on board with this investment company. So, I think it's a good deal.
Mr. Mayor,
What's the word?
are there stipulations from DEQ for us to get that 50% off or 50% forgiven? Like, do we have to show the project in progress or the
There are many requirements
finished
about
it?
yeah, showing progress, audited financial statements, budget, resolutions, and things. Those would be there regardless of whether there's principal forgiveness or not.
Okay.
They do have this money available, and it's already earmarked for us, you could say. So it's assured as much as the Department of Environmental Quality can assure.
Thank you.
So Julia, if the council gives you this authority, you still have to go out for bid?
Yeah, we would have to go out for bid for the design services, yes.
So is this project likely to be in conjunction with the intertie or before or after or?
It would be different. We don't currently have the funding in place for the intertie.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, that's something we could potentially discuss if that isn't, I don't know that we would do it. They're separate projects.
Yeah, separate funds.
Yeah.
The bid, some pre-bid work and pre-engineering has been done. We think it's a sound plan. They've been working on it quite a bit. There's a Salem ditch cross here you can see with the yellow project, which proves difficult, but the original design had it crossing that ditch twice, and so they've figured out how to do it just once, which reduces the cost for one and also the environmental impact. So there's been some pre-engineering done, and they think the bid can go out later this year for these projects.
And this, you may not read. This has actually been in the work on the books for a few years now. And speaking to your question or potentially concern about the intertie, when we have secured the funding for the intertie, we will make sure that is the priority project and get that done. So I'm not like if there's similar consultants or similar staff, we will make sure that the intertie project is.
Where I was going was to not take on more debt. If that's a consideration, the intertie is a consideration for debt, I'd want that to be the first project other than this.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess, James, can you speak to that. I think we're trying to get the intertie with no debt. At worst, it's looking like $1 million in debt. And I believe that our debt ratio is sufficient that that wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, we're not near our debt limits. We could easily do both projects within our debt limits. They are different funds with different sources, but yeah,
James, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So this is for the design of them. Then how are we going to fund because it says construction is anticipated to begin in 2027.
Mm-hmm.
How are we paying for the actual construction of them?
Yeah, so the budget we have now will cover our costs for the design. The total project cost is probably in the $5-ish million range. That's what we're anticipating. So half of that would be forgiven, we're hopeful, if this program continues next fiscal year for the federal government. And then we would budget that next year. We do have funds available within the wastewater fund that can complete the project.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just saw that it said per fiscal year. I was looking at, because I was thinking that we were only getting 2 million, but we'll just get it in sections to cover the plans and
construction.
Construction. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. I read that wrong. Thank you.
Okay, what does council want to do?
Mr. Mayor.
Council Ort.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 26-020, authority to undertake projects and designate a signer as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, so motion and a second. Further discussion. Alyssa, last time, I think.
Okay. Counselor Sims?
Yes.
Counselor Patty?
Yes.
Mayor Quigley?
Yes.
Counselor Ort?
Yes.
Counselor Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Communication from city staff, Julia.
I have a few things. One, I wanted to get direction from council, or I guess clarification. Several meetings ago, we had the teen center discussion on the agenda, and council directed me to work with the teen center staff or board and the Valor Mentoring Board and have a work session. Since that time, I believe several of you have met with the Teen Center Board, and I'm just asking for clarification on whether or not we still feel a work session with the Teen Center Board and Valor is wanted, or if there's any further direction from me.
From my talks with the teen center, I do not believe they want a joint session with Valor Mentoring, like a work session. There's still, I don't think there's any decisions made on working with Valor Mentoring yet.
Yeah, and I know they're working on their mentoring programming and things like that. And so I think that was part of the confusion maybe when this came to council, or when council was discussing it initially, is what their programming was. And so I guess I'm just seeking if there's any desire to still have a work session. I'm guessing not, but I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, my recollection was they would like to come up with a solution together before the council get involved. Okay. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can try to get to some of the meetings and see what they say about that too. I haven't been able to go recently, so.
Okay. And on the teen center subject, because we are the owner of the property, we are one of their greatest supporters, if you will, and they have offered the city a team for the Santiam Teen Center Golf Tournament, which would include one team of 4. I believe that Councilor Sims and Councilor Carey are interested. I'm just wondering if there are 2 other councilors that would be interested, or I can open up to staff if there is not a council interest.
Why am I doing this? I bought golf clubs the other day, so.
Oh no, it was fortuitous.
I'll try to go hack it up maybe. When is it?
August
When is it, Counselor Sam?
22nd, I think. Counselor Hayes.
August 22nd.
Oh, I'm busy. I'm busy that day. Sorry.
Tiger Woods made it too expensive.
So,
I will let you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've let them know that there's an interest, but I just need to know whether or not I need to get others to be on the team or not.
I'm not available.
You're not available. I wanted to just Mayor quickly did the proclamation for National Night Out. We are planning on, I believe, still doing a hosted National Night Out at Pioneer Park like we have done in the past. We're kind of talking about whether or not we're still doing the same ice cream social venues that we've done in the past. Council's had a lot on their plate, and so we're thinking about maybe doing a few real targeted ones, but not doing one at all the parks and really hitting the farmers market and things like that. But I wanted to see if council had any thoughts or ideas, or you were really looking forward to doing the ice cream socials. What your thoughts are on that?
Myself, I would like to see maybe a reduced schedule of them, but maybe some of the larger parks.
Okay.
Pioneer, Quail Run, something like that.
That was our thinking as well. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, I sent you guys an email, but I wanted to share with you, Willamette Living Magazine, which is right here, has a beautiful spread on Stayton. It's like a 9-page spread and talks about all the wonderful things Stayton has to offer. So I encourage you to pick up a copy or look at it or share it, because it's really exciting that they did such a wonderful.
Do we have copies of that at the community or at the?
Where did we get? We're working on it.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that we have. Yeah, I sent you guys an email with the link to it, so you guys can share that. Yeah. So it's really exciting though. So that's all I've got. Oh, James has something. Sorry.
Yeah, just real quickly. We did hire a court clerk and accounts receivable person. You see her in the office now. Really excited to have her. Her name is Stephanie Gonzalez. She was born and raised in Stayton. Yay. Graduate of Stayton High. She has a business degree from Portland State. She's got off to a great start. She speaks Spanish. We're just really glad to have her. Please stop in and say hi like the mayor did earlier today. It was great. He introduced her and himself to her. We're just looking forward to having her. That's it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to do a quick update. 4th of July, all hands on deck for the PD. We don't get vacation time. We are dedicated to serving the city and covering the events. So fun run in the morning, working traffic points, and then also the parade. It was amazing to have Public Works. Dennis came out and was a phenomenal help to the PD staff. And then working through, obviously, shift coverage and calls for service and the nighttime fireworks display. So a lot of dedicated work into the ops plan to do that and pull things off safely and cover all the needs there. Staffing, as Mayor Quigley spoke of, yes, we are down a couple officers, but this is not unusual. In this state, this is the common thread right now. So since 2020, saw a huge retirement of police officers across the nation and across the state. In Marion County, I think Silverton is currently fully staffed, but they have people that are testing out with other agencies. So this is not new or different in the state or in Marion County. And unfortunately, it's just free that people can kind of float and go. I will say we've got a dedicated staff. We have several veterans that have dedicated over 20 years of their career here to the city of Stayton and to the community. I could have retired 5 years ago, but I believe in this agency and our staff and in this community. So I've stayed on, not spending as much time with my grandbaby as I'd like or with my 3 boys. But I think we've got a great agency. Blicker is halfway through his training and working towards solo. Connolly just took off to the academy today, and my staff doesn't know it. And Butler and I will be having a conversation after this, how this works in our schedule. But next Monday, we'll be starting a full-time police officer that's already been through the academy and is experienced and can be plugged right into our schedule. So in the 6 years I've been here at Stayton, also as we alluded to the PERS payback position, we are 13 authorized sworn, but we're held to 12 for quite a few years because of the PERS payback. And so 12 has been where we've operated for most of the 6 years that I've been here. With this addition next week, we'll be at 11, so we'll be almost right back there. I say this because we pride ourselves in serving the community 24/7. There's other areas around us that don't have that luxury. There's areas that are understaffed, and because of that, they're not covering their city 24/7. Contracts too, you get what you pay for. So you're not going to get more than a 40-hour coverage, and you're going to have hierarchy of calls. So we respond to all calls, and we do hierarchy them on priority. So obviously, life-saving assaults, person crimes are going to come before property, and they're going to come before livability calls. But we respond to every call that we get in our dispatch center. So if it's a fraud online, or it's a barking dog, or a civil call, we're going to call and problem solve through that with people. Again, very proud of our staff, especially in the last several months, working through staff shortages, working 12-hour shifts, giving up vacation time, and it all works till someone calls in sick, right? And our guys have been great attitude still out there. The self-initiated activities of area checks and traffic enforcement. So would I love to be at 17 like Silverton? That would allow us a SRO and a traffic and a detective. Amazing. We're at the staffing levels we're authorized, but that means we all do everything. So we don't have a traffic team. It's all of us doing that. It's all of us working the person crimes. So I would like to say thank you to my staff and acknowledge their hard work over the holiday weekend.
Okay, thank you. Mayor and council, I think having Chief just said that I'll start. And again, what I said earlier, I stand by it. I'm not anti-cop. I want to make sure that the general fund is being utilized in the best way possible. I really want to tell you that I appreciate Sergeant Tillman. I had an incident this weekend at my house. I called it in. Sergeant Tillman was there within 10 minutes to take care of it. Followed up with a phone call right after that. Told me how busy y'all were at Pioneer Park, addressing some of the same concerns that I've highlighted with y'all in recent days, and so I appreciate that. I know y'all were busy, did a good job. I was riding my bike, and I came back on 4th of July during the run, and I was trying to cross Shaft Road in front of the middle school, and I'm like, what is going on? And all the runners taking up my bike lane. But the Almsville guys were there, and they had a good interaction with me and commented on my bike and let me pass, so I appreciate that. Outside of that, that's all I got. What else does council have?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Sims.
I have a couple things. First, for Mill Creek Park, I saw we got an approved site plan. I would like to see that plan. I'm sure the other councilors would probably like to see it also.
We have a work session scheduled with you next council meeting, and we're going to go over that. And it's really not any drastically different than what you've seen. It's just what is being funded by the grant. But yes, we'll share that with you.
Okay, thank you. And I had a question. I met with the hospital staff the other day. Does city staff have a meeting with the hospital staff with this emergency action plan, or?
I need to check
to
and see if we
discuss some of the
actually have a
issues?
meeting scheduled, because I thought we were talking about a date, but I'm not sure if we actually
You
landed
received
on.
an email asking, does this date work? And I don't think there's been a follow up to it yet.
Oh, okay. We don't
Okay,
have a
that's
date.
where we're at with that.
Yeah.
Because I do think there needs to be some discussion with the
Mhm.
city on that
100%.
that issue with the Detroit Dam drawdown, the potential loss of water.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I would be talking to them about that as well. Um, and I've shared this with the mayor. We don't currently have a formal emergency plan. Part of it is we've been really focusing on not having an issue, by stopping it, mitigating it. Now we're moving into we still are working on those things. And now we're moving into okay, what if, and developing those scenarios. And so we will, I think, having those conversations with them. All the things that they said are absolutely true, which is why we can't allow it to happen. And speaking of which, I will also, I'll probably be sending you a message in the next days or so to schedule an executive session to discuss some of this in more detail.
Okay, thank you. And then I got to put a plug in for code enforcement, because I have been, when I went around the city in the parade and driving around town, it is atrocious. We really got to get out there with code enforcement. I mean, I'm kind of angry how bad it looks around town. So push code enforcement to get out and give some citations, because I'm just angry about it, quite frankly. So, and I can put some inputs in, but I don't have enough time because there are so many places that need code enforcement.
Yeah.
I just don't have the time in the day to put it all into the system. So,
are you referring to grass or just
noxious weeds, vegetation? That is probably my biggest issue right now. So, get on it. I think hopefully there's a consensus on that, and I wanted to put a plug in for Barry, and no, this isn't a knock against Public Works, but I feel we made a huge mistake with letting him go, and I'm just pretty disappointed. And I think we put ourselves in a situation where we have all these other issues, and now we have, the lack of knowledge on the Detroit Dam drawdown. So I just, my frustration is pretty great with the way we've gone with, with our Public Works department. So I don't know if anybody has anything else to chime in on that, but I just can't tell. I just got to say I'm pretty disappointed in what we've done. And that is all I had.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to go with Steve on that. I miss Barry, and I want him back ASAP.
Julia, I concur with Councilor Sims on the code enforcement. I know Kendra tries her hardest. It's a part-time position. She's doing as much as she can. I know for a fact because I send a lot of code complaints to her. But as you know, you helped me respond to the individual that sent her complaint last week, and she's absolutely correct in her assessment of the state of the city. The weeds are not getting addressed. The garbage is everywhere. We have boats in the middle of the street that have been there for weeks on end. We have boats on the sidewalk. We have people parking on the curb, people parking on the sidewalk. We need to help Kendra do her job. And to your point about having budget meetings on an annual basis, that would help us get these things addressed instead of every 2 years. So there's that piece. I don't know what to tell people when they reach out to us like that and they say, here's the condition of the city, and there's no argument because she's absolutely correct. So what are we using all the tools in our disposal when it comes to abatement for weeds?
I mean, Jennifer's here. I think we'll have to have a conversation with Kendra and see if what's going on and if we need to provide her more resources or help encourage her to be more expeditious with things. So I don't have an answer for that.
I just think like commercial properties, for example, on Hollister and First Ave, that old auto parts store. Why can't we just do it? Our tools in our toolbox, send somebody to cut the grass and give them the bill.
Okay.
I mean, that's in our code. Why we're not using that, I don't understand. But I think Councilor Petty knows this. We, at one point, tried to put a full-time code enforcement officer in place many budget cycles ago, and we were told it wasn't needed. I absolutely disagree with that. So maybe it's time we revisit that.
Okay, we'll explore that. I mean, I'll certainly the commercial properties, we'll look into that.
And as far as Barry goes, I too share and I've shared this with you, the considerations from both my fellow counselors. I think we're in a pickle now, and I know we can't talk about it because it's a personnel matter, but I have some concerns that were shared tonight by the hospital that really, bring me to question, what are we doing? The drawdown, if it takes place, is on December 1st. It starts December 1st, and we don't have an emergency operation plan to address it specifically. That makes me really nervous. Councilor.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to piggyback on that. So the Santiam Hospital, just kind of by their comments, it sounds like maybe they don't have a direct contact, or maybe they do. So I'm just curious who their direct contact is. How are we communicating with them? And are they part of the meetings on the water discussions? I feel like they're like a really big stakeholder in that.
Yeah, they are, and they are certainly part of our emergency operations plan. They were a part of that conversation. The issues with all of the water have been part of what our arguments have been about why it's so critical that we not have the drawdown, and the importance of making sure that everything is not, that we don't have the turbidity that we're afraid we're going to have. We have not had direct conversations. They just reached out this last week. I guess it's just Monday. So late last week, we do need to be having those conversations. Clearly, they have those concerns. And again, we're focused on not having it happen. So that's the first focus. And again, we could talk more about this during the executive session.
Awesome. I have a couple things. Okay. The parade. Thank you, city staff, for the city float. Driving the truck. Brad driving the truck. All of you guys coming out and threw some candy for you. Coming out and supporting. That was a lot of fun. My kids have fun every year, and so thank you for doing that and having the float and everyone that participated. I want to give a shout out and thank you to the Lions Club for all their hard work and volunteering, making sure that goes well. We were walking around. Counselor Sims and I were judging the floats, and we were walking around, and several of the participants just commented. I mean, they were, obviously things don't always go as planned, and maybe they weren't going exactly the way they wanted them to, but several people commented on how organized it was and the communication, and they've been in several where, obviously this isn't perfect, but it's significantly better than what they have experienced. So kudos to them. Thank you to the Lions Club, Joe in particular. I want to know what we think about talking about our densities and moving townhomes to medium density instead of high density. If we can have that discussion.
You asking for to have one?
Well, yeah, I want to know if you guys are interested in having that. I'm not saying if you agree with it. I'm asking if you are open to having that discussion.
So I can say that the Planning Commission is having some discussions about updating the codes, and I think they're talking about townhomes and cottage clusters, and so maybe that will happen through those conversations anyways.
Lovely. I talked about this before, but I would like to have a budget committee, like have an ordinance for a budget committee every year. I would love to see where we're at with that. And then I just want to reiterate, if we're if we're talking about an issue that specifically involves certain people, organizations, like obviously we have land use issues where we have obligations to reach out to property owners or certain people. And so I know that we do that because we have to. But again, we're here for the community, and so I think it's really important to have that. We talk about community engagement. I think it's important that if we have stakeholders that are involved, that we at least give them a heads up that something is happening.
Coach Patty, anything? Okay. Anything else, folks, for the good of the order? All right, thank you.